For the last 100 hours, India witnessed unscripted history. The events that unfolded were unprecedented. India hitting at terror's universities, at Pakistan's terror universities, demolishing Pakistan's air bases, precision strikes at very carefully chosen targets to send across just one clear message: India will not tolerate terror. Operation Sindoor unfolded with exceptional coordination between the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, India's intelligence agencies, our ace forces. But for you and I, most of it was beyond visual range. So today, we at India Today, with the help of AI, with the help of artificial intelligence and a team of our graphics artists, military and strategic experts, have recreated Operation Sindoor. So viewers, look up. Put aside your phones. You don't want to miss this India Today special presentation, Operation Sindoor.
यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति
पूरी खाली फिर साइड में था एक इंसान आया उसने उसको गोली मार दी
अभ्युत्थान
I said the whole world India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backer.
विनाशाय च दुष्कृताम्
आतंकियों को और इस हमले की साजिश रचने वालों को उनकी कल्पना से भी बड़ी सजा मिलेगी।
For decades, they plotted in the dark, fueling terror from safe havens across the border. But this time, they crossed India's red lines. In the shadow of terror, a plan was forged. 2 weeks, 9 camps spread across 700 kilometers. India's finest military minds from the armed forces and intelligence agencies began building a silent offensive. Weeks of relentless intelligence gathering, satellite scans, drones hovered, eyes and ears deep inside enemy territory. Terror bases were marked, strike routes planned, risks assessed. A day before the strike, a clever deception, a NOTAM or notice to airmen issued for a military exercise far south. Pakistan tracked the movements in southern Rajasthan, saw only a drill in the skies, not our stealth, not our intent. May 6, a little after midnight, under the guise of war games, the Rafale's Omni-Roll fighter jets take off. Pakistan Air Force watches, unaware of what's coming. The weapon of choice, Rafale fighter jets, with pinpoint accuracy cruise missiles on board and laser-guided bombs. Kamikaze drones on standby. Rafale soar into the night sky, its radars silent. The eyes of the nation's top brass looked at every frame, every altitude from the war room in New Delhi. At 0100 hours, India strikes. 9 targets, 1 synchronized wave. The Rafale split into attack groups. Without crossing the border, they unleashed fire from the skies. 9 targets, 9 direct hits. Terror infrastructure reduced to ash. The scalp missiles slam into concrete. Hammer bombs pierce hideouts. Kamikaze drones silence launch pads on the either side of the Peak Panjal ranges. The UAVs circle overhead, relaying bomb damage assessment in real time for those who want proof. In minutes, it's game over for terrorists, at least for now. 9 terror bases, including the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba at Muridke. No boots on ground, no civilian casualties. Every objective met. The Hydra-headed monster of military terror network in Pakistan raises its head once again. Pakistan Armed Forces target Indian cities. Pakistan Air Force even used civil airlines as shield for its massive drone attacks on multiple cities across India. On the 7th of May, in response, Indian Air Force unleashed kamikaze drones on enemy military infrastructure. India's S-400 missile defense shield, the Barracks and the Akash surface-to-air missiles form a deadly air defense shield across India. Indian missiles targeted key locations deep inside Pakistan, including in Lahore, Sialkot, Bahawalpur and Karachi. Indian Air Force fighter jets hit critical Pakistani air bases, including at Sarodha and Jacobabad, that are closely associated with Pakistan's nuclear strike capabilities. Each phase a calibrated answer to Pakistan's provocation. More than 100 terrorists killed in Operation Sindoor wasn't just retaliation, it was a statement of Bharat's resolve. This was not a war. This was Bharat's message to Pakistan. India will strike swiftly, silently, and decisively. Operation Sindoor, mission accomplished.
आतंकियों ने हमारी बहनों का सिंदूर उजाड़ा था, इसलिए भारत ने आतंक के ये हेडक्वार्टर्स उजाड़ दिए।
What you just saw on India First was an AI reconstruction of Operation Sindoor. Never before on Indian news television has artificial intelligence technology, AI technology, been used like this. And you can watch this film on India Today and all of our digital platforms. And now, let me take you to the big story of the day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi sent out perhaps the boldest, the loudest and the clearest message to a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror, Pakistan, and this from one of India's frontline air bases, Adampur. This is also the second largest base of the Indian Air Force. This is the same air base that Pakistan falsely claimed to have hit. The Prime Minister's visit didn't just demolish Pakistan's fakery, Pakistan's also Jhootistan, but it drew a new Lakshman Rekha for a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror. Because the Prime Minister made it very clear, we are the land of Gautam Buddha, but then we also are the land of Guru Gobind Singh Ji.
भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi landing at Punjab's Adampur Air Base. Days after stupendous success of Operation Sindoor.
भारत माता की भारत माता की
Delivering a thundering message to Pakistan. From the frontline air base, which saw a failed attack by Pakistan and played a critical role in counter-strikes. Meeting Air Force fighter pilots and technical staff who conducted air sorties. Lauding their bravery and expressing gratitude of the nation.
मैं वीरों की इस धरती से आज एयरफोर्स, नेवी और आर्मी के सभी जाबाजों, बीएसएफ के अपने शूरवीरों को सैल्यूट करता हूं। आपके पराक्रम की वजह से आज ऑपरेशन सिंदूर की गूंज हर कोने में सुनाई दे रही है।
Amid victory cries by the air warriors of Adampur.
भारत माता की वंदे 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 वंदे।
Prime Minister Modi made it clear that terror launchpads operating with impunity inside Pakistan are now vulnerable. Precision weaponry and real-time surveillance have turned these terror safe havens into potential strike zones.
आतंक के आकाओं को अब समझ आ गया है। भारत की ओर नजर उठाने का एक ही अंजाम होगा, तबाही। जिस पाकिस्तानी सेना के भरोसे ये आतंकी बैठे थे, भारत की सेना, भारत की एयरफोर्स और भारत की नेवी ने उस पाकिस्तानी सेना को भी धूल चटा दी है।
The Prime Minister posed with the famous message inscribed at the airbase, which reads, "Why enemy pilots don't sleep well." A chilling reminder of India's air dominance.
हमारी एयरफोर्स ने पाकिस्तान में इतना डीप आतंक के अड्डों को टारगेट किया। आपकी स्पीड और प्रिसीजन इस लेवल की थी कि दुश्मन हक्का बक्का रह गया।
Prime Minister Modi's visit busted Pak fakery like never before. The Prime Minister took an Indian Air Force C-130J Super Hercules to the Adampur Air Base, showing the air base is fully operational despite fake Pakistani claims of hitting its air base. Pakistan's lies of destroying S-400 missile system and Indian jets were also demolished. With MiG-29 fighters and the mighty S-400 Russian missile defense system prominently displayed in the background. Pakistan's lies of killing airmen at Adampur was also completely shattered. Jubilant Air Force personnel flanking Modi, sending a message which will resonate for long with Pakistan.
जब भारत के सैनिक मां भारती की जय बोलते हैं तो दुश्मन के कलेजे कांप जाते हैं। जब हमारी मिसाइलें सनसनाती हुई निशाने पर पहुंचती हैं तो दुश्मन को सुनाई देता है, भारत माता की जय।
Bureau Report, India Today.
So Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Adampur Air Base spoke of the new normal when it comes to dealing with Pakistan and terror from the Oxbridge of terror. At the Adampur Air Base with air warriors, Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave details of hitting terror at source, punishing the state sponsors of terror with precision strikes at crucial Pakistan Air Force bases, including at Nurhan in Rawalpindi, also at Sarodha, Jacobabad, Rahim Yar Khan in the Punjab province, and of course Bolari in Sindh. And this is truly unprecedented. What should one make of this new normal? Joining me on this India First special broadcast is General Ved Malik, former Chief of Army Staff. General Malik, incidentally, was the Army Chief when India had defeated Pakistan in the 1999 Kargil War. General, welcome on India First.
Thank you, Gaurav. It's always a pleasure to be.
Thank you very much, sir. General, after losing to India in Kargil, Pakistan's ISI used terrorists to hijack IC-814 in December 1999. And then we've suffered a wave of terror, a wave after a wave of terror for decades. This is the first time in 2025 that roots of terror were stuck, whether at Muridke or at Bahawalpur, at Sialkot, or, the depth and the length of the strikes. What do you make of the decision to hit terror at source, the 9 bases and headquarters of terror that were attacked, sir?
Gaurav, I think Pakistan had forced us to take such an action, a very strong action. We, in fact, changed our strategy on counter-terrorism, starting from the cross-border strike that we did in 2016. And what we call generally the surgical strike. And then again, we took it further when we carried out the strike at Balakot, the terrorist training camp there. So this time they again forced us to take a level higher. And I would say that there has been a shift in our policy, because this time we not only, it was a tri-service action, but also it was a whole of the nation approach, starting with diplomatic and economic target, including suspension of the Indus water treaty, etc. So they had forced us, they had compelled us with the kind of activity that they have been carrying out, and nobody in India was prepared to accept what they did to us in Pahalgam. So I must say that our action was absolutely necessary. It was forced on us, and we took that action as per the order given by the Cabinet Committee of Security. Now, the kinetic part of it, we hit their camps and the strong camps, the heart of their terrorist activities, both at Bahawalpur as well as Muridke, as you said. That was a very daring action which we took. It's a good thing that we did. But the question is, they provoked us further by taking on our military targets and our civilian targets. So once again, with that kind of provocation, we were again forced to take further action. And I would say,
let me for a moment now come to that further action. The
Yeah.
stronger kinetic action that you spoke of. So when Pakistan Army chose to react in defense of terrorist organizations like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen, and both Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed are UN-designated banned terrorist organizations, India hit multiple Pakistan Air Force bases from Skardu in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir through Pakistan's Punjab province down to Bolari in Sindh. Could even Pakistan, in your appreciation, sir, have imagined such punitive measures? 11 Pakistan Air Force bases targeted in a single day.
If they did not, it would be a failure of their strategic thinking and military strategy. And now, when we took that action after took those 9 objectives of terrorist objectives, when we took that, thereafter, when they started targeting our military and civil action. Now, it was quite obvious to the whole world that the kind of nexus that exists between the Pakistani army and their terrorist organization. I mean, that's a close nexus that we have been suffering for such a long time. So that came out in the open now. And again, as I said, they provoked us and we took that action, which was very good. If they were not expecting it, I think they probably, it's a failure of their thinking on such matters.
Okay.
But I must compliment here, Gaurav, I must compliment our forces. The manner in which they have conducted that, both the initial action as well as subsequent action, they deserve full praise. The coordinated activity which we saw for the first time, and I also must compliment. In fact, I would say that whatever credit that the whole nation is taking, it is primarily because of the forces, the way they reacted, the way they acted, and also showcased our superiority in weapon system and in our also the defense, air defense, etc. And therefore, it was something which they asked for, they called for, and I think we did very well. The credit also must go to the CCS for giving them freedom of action. You know, I can't take away the credit only from them. I think the Prime Minister and the Cabinet Committee on Security, they gave the forces their freedom of action with the kind of limitations, you know, in such targeting, etc., which is there.
You know, since you speak of limitation of targeting, I want to understand those limitations because Pakistan is a nuclear weapon state. Targeting the Nurhan Air Base or targeting Rawalpindi, the seat of power in Pakistan, targeting Lahore, targeting Sargodha, Jacobabad, Rahim Yar Khan, Bolari, 11 military bases, 9 terror camps, and headquarters, of course, at Muridke, 3 radar stations, including the Malir Cantonment radar at Karachi. What does that indicate, sir? Was India totally in control of the escalation ladder? And tell us more about the limitations in which India worked for this operation.
You see, you know it that for a very long time, ever since Kargil war, I've been talking about limited war and the grey war doctrine.
Grey zone warfare, yes, sir.
Now, the fact is that there is plenty of space under the nuclear threshold, and between that and the kind of terrorist activities, a proxy war that we have been fighting for such a long time. And we've made use of that space which is there. And whatever we've done, it is not to start an all-out war, an all-out conventional war, but again, we remain ourselves in the grey war zone as well as maybe in the limited war. So the escalation dominance was with us, and escalation control was with us, and we were still restricting ourselves initially on the terrorist camps, and subsequently when they started and they escalated, well, we took it 1 or 2 notches up, and that's what we have done. We have not crossed the international border. We haven't opened any other ground activities on the border. So we have still remained, the Navy has not opened up. So therefore, we still remain in the conditions of limited war or grey war zone.
Okay. The spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, Ranveer Jaiswal, just a short while back, and he said these massive strikes, the massive strikes that were carried out across Pakistan Air Force bases, the Pakistani DGMO was forced to activate the hotline with India. In fact, the Pakistani High Commission, he said, in Delhi sought a hotline conversation. Then the Pakistanis sought a ceasefire. In your military appreciation, sir, what does this indicate? That on the 9th, the Pakistanis were threatening us. On the 10th, after these precision strikes at multiple locations, almost near simultaneously, within hours, Pakistan sought a ceasefire.
Look, it is the superior combat that we displayed during that period. And that is what forced them to seek the ceasefire. It's a repeat of what happened in Kargil war. I can say that even at that time, it was their DGMO who approached our DGMO first. and ask, okay, look, can we meet together and can we sort it out? So this is what they have done again. And they sought the, ultimately, the combat part of it can only cease when the two DGMOs talk to each other. And that's what happened. And this time also, like last time, it was the DGMO from the Pakistan side, on behalf of all the military forces that they have, that he spoke to our DGMO and asked for ceasefire. Look, whatever other countries and other diplomats may be taking credit for it, ultimately, I believe, very strongly believe, that it was our superior forces, what they displayed and what the damage that they caused to Pakistan, that is what forced them to seek the ceasefire.
And sir, the targeting of Sarodha, which is one of their most heavily defended air bases, the IAF did so for effect, from a runway to certain other installations, and Jacobabad, where they have their F-16s, the Rafiki Air Base, where they have their drones. Does that indicate that, one, India was under no pressure of their nuclear bogey? Even Sarodha, Nurhan, Rafiki, Jacobabad, they could be targeted, because the Prime Minister said so in as many words. Has Pakistan's nuclear blackmail been called out for all times? Kargil was a war that was fought, a limited war under the nuclear umbrella. Then, as you very rightly pointed out, sir, the surgical strike, the Balakot airstrike, and now Operation Sindoor. Has Pakistan's nuclear blackmail been exposed completely?
Yes, they have been indulging in nuclear blackmail for a very long time, and very, I would say, casually. No nuclear nation speaks in such irresponsible manner. You heard the kind of statements being made by their political leaders, including their ministers, and sometimes even their Pakistani military leaders also. And so we know and we understand what is the space available between the nuclear threshold and the situation on the ground. And we were keeping that under control, and we were also confident about our escalation dominance. And Pakistan, our Prime Minister quite rightly said that we will not accept this nuclear blackmail again and again, which they have been talking about.
Okay, but will this deter a country that's addicted to terror, a country that has the Oxbridge of terror at Bahawalpur and Muridke? You know, that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar, apparently he's lost a large number of his family members. UN designated and US designated terrorists have been neutralized at Muridke, and yet you saw how a number of senior Pakistan Army personnel, including the Corps commander and several brigade commanders, were present there at the funeral. A wreath was laid on behalf of the President of Pakistan and the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan. So will that country continue to use Lashkar and Jaish as their strategic weapons against India, in your appreciation?
Yeah, I think that's the most important question today. Look, apart from others, I mean, I have my own understanding of, I do not differentiate between the Pakistani military wearing those khaki uniforms and these other terrorists which are not wearing that uniform, and yet they are part and parcel of the Pakistani military and its strategy. You know, this proxy war strategy in which Pakistani army has been indulging in, it is part and parcel of their both the DNA and the kind of practices that they've been having all along on the ground. So I don't differentiate between these two. And that is how you saw, whatever you said you correctly, that is how you saw the immediate reaction from the Pakistan army when we had only struck their terrorist camps and terrorist hideouts. So we have to keep that in mind. I'm not too sure whether they will stop it for long. And because that is the only strategy that they have. They cannot indulge in a conventional war against us. So there is nothing else. And the other thing is that these terrorists from Bahawalpur or Muridke or elsewhere, they are cheap fodder for them. It's a very, a much less costlier war machine that they have built through these people. So I don't expect that the proxy war strategy in which they have been indulging for decades now, they are going to stop it straight away. Despite all the warning that have been, very strong warning that have been given by our Prime Minister. So we should expect that. But the question now is, what kind of deterrence can we exercise on them? And that is what my question has been, that we may have done a splendid job, but for how long will they remain, will they stay away from this strategy that they have been adopting? And if we had gone a little longer, little stronger, maybe we had continued. I mean, I'm a soldier, I'm sorry, but I have to think of that if we had continued for a day or two more, maybe they would have, the deterrence part would have been more effective as far as we are concerned.
What an interesting thought. And let's carry this forward for a moment, sir. You say that we should have carried on punishing them longer, maybe a day or two. What else could we have achieved? What would have been our end game? Because, you know, when I was a young reporter during Kargil war, you had told me about classification of aim and maintenance of aim in war. So what would have been classification of aim here? If it was punishing terror, that was done. Maintenance of aim, punishing the state sponsors of terror, 13 air bases and radar sites hit. What else could we have done in the next 2 days in your appreciation, sir?
Gaurav, our political aim today is to make them stop indulging in proxy war. And that is the political aim. And whatever military aim, the objective that we are now trying to follow is primarily coming from that we want Pakistan to stop this terrorist activities. And as quite rightly, Prime Minister also said, we and anybody else should have zero tolerance as far as terrorism is concerned. And that is the political aim. That is what to be achieved politically. As far as military is concerned, we can cause damage. We can, give them strong warning and hope that they will not indulge in it. But I'm not too sure about Pakistan, because what I have seen over the last so many decades, that, वो कहते हैं ना, कुत्ते की पूंछ सीधी नहीं होती है. So that we have to be careful all the time. I've seen them, even after accepting ceasefire, you know what they have been doing for the last 2 days.
Absolutely.
So therefore,
and even after they accepted ceasefire in Kargil, they were trying operations against us. Even then, as you know better, sir.
So, Gaurav, that is why I am feeling that to make deterrence stronger and to make it last longer, they required some more hammering, particularly when we were having an upper hand and they gave us the opportunity themselves. We did not seek it. They gave us the opportunity. So we should have utilized that opportunity and hit them harder. That is what I believe. And that would have probably made the deterrence a little longer, little stronger, and made them think again.
So let me give you a counterpoint, if you permit, sir. This is the first time that we've hit terror at Muridke and Bahawalpur. This is the first time that we've hit 13 terror bases and military installations, including their air bases, including their fighter jets. I believe they've lost some fighter jets. They've lost several radars, and very crucial radars, whether it's in Pasroor or Malir or, even in Sialkot, which makes them in a way blind to our future actions. I believe they've lost an airborne advanced early warning system. The Pakistan army must have lost tremendous prestige if General Asim Munir, the chief of the army staff, who was talking about hard action and being a hard state, was living in a bunker for several hours when we were bombing Noor Khan, when Rawalpindi and Lahore were under attack. He was, like a rat inside a bunker in Rawalpindi, sir. Now, isn't this imposing costs on them and unaffordable costs on a pauper Pakistan? Because replacing all these military assets would virtually be impossible for them, of course, unless China continues to give them arms for free.
Gaurav, whatever you said, the damage that we have caused them, you are right. You should know it more because you've been following it so closely, and I am not going to deny that. but I know the mindset of the Pakistan Army.
Yes.
And having seen their activities for last so many decades, and I know the mindset of their leaders, army leaders, I still feel that they will not stop this activity. We can still expect some action from their side, both in terms of proxy war and maybe even some skirmishes along the line of control or international border. We should expect that. So whether they have been taught the right lesson, that deterrence action, how strong it has been, I believe that we could have made it stronger if this opportunity that they gave us, they indulged in that we should have hit them harder, make them suffer even more, and perhaps that would have kept them away from these activities for a longer period.
Sir, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said that the Indus Waters Treaty, and governments also made that point once again, even today, that will remain. It will be held in abeyance till Pakistan takes permanent action against India-centric terror or words to that effect. Is that likely to deter Pakistan? Because water of the western rivers, if we were to harness it more effectively, will that deter Pakistan?
Gaurav, it will take a fairly long time to be so effective as we are thinking, or you are talking. You know, it will not be possible for us to stop all the water in the near future. We have to create pondage, we have to create all those dams and the power station that we are talking about. That will take time. So that may take a few years also. So I would say that it's a good step that we have taken, and it's a good warning that we have given them. But how effective it will be and how much of impact it will have on the mindset of the Pakistan Army and the Pakistani leadership, that needs to be seen yet.
And sir, the fact that even after the attack...
I'm not talking of the future.
Oh, absolutely, sir. You know, because, for example, even after the attack on Parliament, we were talking to Musharraf. You'd recall how, despite IC-814 hijack and Kargil war, we'd accepted him, a military dictator, as president of Pakistan, gave him a guard of honor, got him to Agra, and then he ran away in the middle of the night. Or after 26/11, we were still engaging with Pakistan, and that Aman ki Asha. Now, when the government says the only conversation with Pakistan will be on the return of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and terror. Now, does that very effectively shut out any conversation with Pakistan? You know, like all those conversations that were happening, make Siachen mountain of peace, and there was forward movement on that, and some 4-point agenda for peace. When Pakistan was actually plotting 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks on us, they were talking peace. Is all of that now out of the window, sir?
Look, some kind of communication will continue despite all the statements that have been made in public and the very strong action that we have taken. For example, we have not stopped the DGMO working on their lines, communication lines.
Yes.
Okay, that is still functioning. And similarly, even in the diplomacy, sometime directly and sometime indirectly, that kind of communication continues. And I think that is also a good step. When we are talking of escalation control, those are helpful steps. And we want to maintain both escalation dominance as well as control over this thing. So those are good steps. And I know very strong warning this time I have heard from the Prime Minister. I have not heard him speaking so strongly and so emotionally, so assertively as he has done this time. But again, as I said, knowing the mindset, I still have my doubt if these people are going to stop it. And therefore, we cannot afford to be alert. We have to remain alert, and we have to be prepared to once again give them the same hammering. And that is why I said that the last time when they gave us the opportunity 2 days ago, we should have probably hammered them more. Now, I'm not a warmonger. I'm not interested in harming the public in Pakistan, but their warmonger and the people who have been responsible for all the whatever has happened in India-Pakistan relationship, they need to be sorted out. And that is not only in our interest, that I believe is also in the interest of Pakistan.
Oh, absolutely, sir. I couldn't agree with you more. You're absolutely right. Instead of hitting Pakistan once or one massive barrage that took out, 13 Pakistani military installations and 9 terror camps, we should continue to pound Pakistan, pulverize their military terror network. And that's a very, very valid point that you make. General Malik, as always, for joining me here on this India Today special broadcast. Many thanks.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you, sir. There's been a lot of online chatter about India targeting close to Pakistan's nuclear facilities, especially around the Kirana Hills. Social media footage posted on the day of the strikes actually showed smoke from the surrounding areas of the hills. Air Marshal A.K. Bharti, the Director General Air Operations, who very clearly said, Bhai bin hoye na preet, also made it very clear that there was no targeting of the Kirana Hills. But geolocation by India Today's open source intelligence team gets you more on that story.
Social media has been buzzing with dramatic claims about India's airstrikes deep inside Pakistan. Conspiracy theorists are wondering if India struck Pakistan's nuclear storage facility at the Kirana Hills during Operation Sindoor. Several users have shared images, videos and maps allegedly pointing to smoke rising from the rocky region in Pakistan's Punjab province. But did India really target the Kirana Hills? Top Indian defense officials have categorically denied any strike on the Kirana Hills.
Thank you for telling us that Kirana Hill houses some nuclear installation. We did not know about it. Okay. And we've not hit Kirana Hills, whatever is there. Okay. I did not brief in my briefing yesterday. Thank you.
So why the confusion? Kirana Hills is a large, rubbed terrain under Pakistan's Ministry of Defence in the Sarodha district, commonly referred to as the Black Mountains because of its dark, rocky features. It lies between the town of Ravva and Sarodha city, and while it remains a high security zone, no strikes were carried out there. What was hit in the Sarodha Air Base, located about 10 kilometers away from the Kirana Hills. The strike took place on May 10th as part of India's counter-offensive. Based on geolocation by India's open source intelligence team, the site of smoke can be placed near the surrounding peaks, not the Kirana Hills. So while the terrain may look similar and proximity fueled the buzz, the facts remain clear. India did not strike the Kirana Hills. With Bidisha Saha, Bureau Report, India Today.
But it seems either the Pakistanis got spooked or the Americans got spooked. Because India's made it very clear they did not target the Kirana Hills. They did target the Sarodha Air Base, which is Pakistan's perhaps amongst its best defended air bases, the Mushaf Air Base. And I want to bring in my colleague Sandeep Unnithan for more on this. And Sandeep, when you look at the map both that Ditresfa has shared and also the one that was put out by the government, the targeting very clearly is of the Mushaf Air Base, the Sarodha Air Base, the best defended perhaps air base of Pakistan. Bring us details of the damage assessment, the bomb damage assessment at Sarodha.
Well, Gaurav, the base was attacked. It's very clear. And we don't know where these explosions that Pakistan is reported. We are seeing it on social media. We've analyzed it, those blasts that our teams have analyzed right down to the Kirana Hills. There is no confirmation as to where those blasts came from. And, you know, the Kirana Hills compound, very quickly, Gaurav, is enormously strategically significant to Pakistan. That is where they conducted their first subcritical tests in 1983. They drilled very deep tunnels into the Kirana Hills to test those subcritical devices. And later, that is where they stored their M11 missiles, which they had acquired from China. So enormously strategic location. And later on, they used this for storing their nuclear weapons, their bombs. That is where they keep their weapons. And in times of emergency, they bring the bombs out and then take it down to the Sarodha Air Base just a few kilometers away, where they are then mated onto either aircraft or onto the ballistic missiles nearby. So it's very clear that the Indian Air Force struck at the Sarodha Air Base, but they did not do so on the Kirana Hills compound itself. So where did those blasts come from, Gaurav? And this is something that there could be a lot of speculation on. Could it be the Pakistan military itself, for instance, who targeted, set off explosions over there to then try and tell the Americans that, look, our air bases, our nuclear, sites are being targeted by India. Therefore, you need to bring this, conflict to a draw. I mean, Pakistan has been known for subterfuge, Gaurav. I don't put it past them. They have done, even bigger and, more complicated operations than this. The fact that Osama bin Laden, Gaurav, was staying a stone's throw away from one of their premier officer training institutions at Abbottabad, and the fact that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the main planner of 9/11, was apprehended from Rawalpindi, the headquarters of the Pakistan military, tells me that nothing is above the Pakistan military, especially when it comes to a crisis of the kind that the Indian Air Force inflicted on them in the matter of minutes on the 9th
Indian Air Force
May.
operations were actually spectacular. The manner in which multiple Pakistani Air Force bases were targeted, and we saw Sargodha, where the airfield has been devastated, and that too at a very critical point. A huge hole punched into it, critical gaps punched into Pakistan air defense systems. Let me now take you to the Bolari Air Base, and again, Bolari is their latest air base in the Sindh province. There you see the air base destroyed, hangar with a short taxiway destroyed, possible quick reaction asset has been destroyed, the munition impact point we see in those. So what does that indicate? One, the targeting of Bolari, why is it so significant, and the bomb damage assessment, Sandeep?
Well, Bolari is their newest airbase, Gaurav. It was commissioned in 2017. It is a new fighter airbase. You can see there those, those runways and those dispersal aprons. All of that is there on the satellite imagery that we see. And, they seem to have struck, the Indian Air Force has gone and shattered one of those hangars over there, which, if you can see, there is a small little indication of an aircraft over there of some sort inside. Either that aircraft has been hit, it's been destroyed, or it sustained some kind of damage. So there's some very big signaling there. What kind of aircraft is there? We need to zoom in and look at it very carefully. But there is definitely some kind of aircraft that was there inside that hangar when it was struck by the Indian Air Force on the 9th of May. So, enormous signaling there, Gaurav, hitting air bases through the length and breadth of Pakistan, from the high-altitude deserts of Gilgit-Baltistan in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, right down to the Cholistan Desert in Sindh, which is where Bolari Air Base is located. No air base, no airfield, no radar site is safe from the eyes and certainly the weapons of the Indian Air Force, as we've demonstrated through Operation Sindoor.
It gives you so much satisfaction to see that finally costs are being imposed on that state sponsor of radical Islamist terror by the Indian Armed Forces. They've always had the capabilities. We've been told of their war games. Now we are watching it in action. And Sandeep, what's very critical, as I get you images of the Nurhan Air Base, and this is Rawalpindi. This is the seat of power in Pakistan. This is Nurhan, where you also see some assets on the floor. On the tarmac and on the taxiway, but what you also see there, parked in the apron there, you see what is also significant. This is where General Asim Munir, the chief of the Pakistan Army, was hiding in a bunker. A command and control structure here was taken down. An advanced early warning command and control aircraft was taken down. Can Pakistan replenish all these assets that it's losing, the radars, the AWACS, the fighter jets, the damage to the ATCs and runways. How expensive would this be for a pauper Pakistan?
Well, good question, Gaurav. And, you know, as we speak, the accountants of the Pakistan military must be sitting and toting up the losses of, the aircraft and the infrastructure that's been damaged. All of that would amount to hundreds of millions of dollars, Gaurav. And, aircraft, all of these things are expensive. It takes years to build them. It takes many, many years, almost a decade to induct high-end platforms, unless they can be bought off the shelf, second-hand or such like. But new builds will be very difficult for them to acquire. It will take at least 5 or 6 years for them to acquire all of this. If they have indeed lost AEW and C aircraft, for instance, it will take a few years for them to replenish. And they will finally have to make that tough choice. Do they use that money, that handout that they're getting from the IMF to replenish their losses that they've suffered, to patch up all the holes in their air defense network that we've created through the Indian Air Force, buy new radars, missiles, or feed the people, run the Pakistan economy? They are tough choices indeed. And as you pointed out, Gaurav, we've raised the costs of what they thought was a low-cost option of bleeding India through 1,000 cuts. We've just raised that cost overnight in a span of a few hours.
Unaffordable for that pauper terror state. Unaffordable. Even their masters, China, cannot continue funding them because Chinese stocks are collapsing because of the manner in which the Chinese air defense system, it couldn't prevent. Because, China can lie to the world. China can pay money to a section of the media overseas and get fake reports published there. But look at the facts on ground. If Indian missiles were hitting multiple air bases from the northern end of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir in Skardu down to its southern end in Bolari, taking out those air defense systems, taking out those radars, then those radars aren't worth whatever yen that has been paid, RMB that has been paid for it, whatever dollars have been paid for it by Pakistan, or the territory it may have bartered, or the donkeys or whatever else they may have given to China for that. Because I want to get our viewers another very important point. Chinese defense stocks have tanked after India's military offensive against Pakistan. Pakistan imports bulk of its, almost 80% plus of its defense equipment, including the latest J-10Cs, their fighter jets from China. The JF-17s, of course, now are made in Pakistan, but those are Chinese origin. The Chengdu fighters, China doesn't use them, so they've palmed it off to Pakistan. Indian defense stock, incidentally, is on a roll after Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized the need for greater self-reliance in matters military. And the government also made it very clear that there was no American intervention or foreign intervention that got Pakistan pleading for a ceasefire. It was hard military action. I get you more in this report.
The battle for air superiority may have been limited to the Western Front, but its impact has reverberated far and wide. The lethality of the supersonic BrahMos missile fired for the first time in vengeance. The deadly accuracy of the surface-to-air Akash missiles, which guarded the airspace above India. The Akash Tir, which integrates drone swarms, satellite surveillance and AI battlefield coordination into a single real-time combat platform. They are all being celebrated on the Dalal Street. Investors are gobbling up public and private sector defense-related stocks. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, the frontline aircraft manufacturer, saw its stock rise 4% trade today. The stock up 1% in the past 5 days. Bharat Electronics was also up 4% today, with 5-day gains at 7%. Bharat Dynamics, which manufactures missiles for the S-400 system, shot up 10% today, with 12% gains over 5 days. Among the private sector, Zen Technologies shot up 5% today, with gains of 15% in 5 days. Data pattern, a Chennai-based electronic warfare company, was up 4% today and 12% in 5 days. Astra Microwave rose 3% today and 5.5% in 5 days. The Chinese defense companies are reaping the benefits as well. Between 2019 and 2023, 82% of Pakistani defense procurements were of Chinese origin. A majority of Chinese defense company shares have logged a sharp uptick amid an escalation in the India-Pakistan conflict. But the up move seems to have petered out following the ceasefire announcement between the two neighboring nations. AVIC Chengdu, which manufactures the JF-10 and JF-17 fighter aircraft, has gained a whopping 41% in 5 days, but fell 7.5% today. Zhuzhou Hongda, the maker of the PL-15 radar-guided missile, which fell unexploded in Haryana, was down more than 6% today. Analysts meanwhile believe there is a huge upside to the defense industry in India. The government has already fast-tracked the supplies of missiles and other defense equipment as it ensures readiness under the new so-called Modi Doctrine, which has likened terror attacks to an act of war. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.